And if you don't have a plan, you're going to be eaten by competition.
Well, Frode, thank you very much for joining Dykkerskapet TV again, your second time in our studio. Thanks for popping by. Today we're going to look at digital transformation in leadership and HR. But before we jump in to talk about it in leadership and HR, can you just explain what digital transformation is as a whole?
Yeah. In essence, you have several elements to digital transformation. You have, of course, the knowledge about technology, so how to use technology if technology is available. You have the customer centricity part, which comes very strongly back, coupled with what I would call digital first mindset. So when you think of new business models, when you think of new ways of doing business, you will think first from the customer's perspective and from their use of, this kind of computers, where in fact you will want to see the end result from that part, and then you go backwards and you develop things. So that has to do with digital. It also has to do with the access to information, transparency in information, open mindset, so that in fact you share data, and that enables new solutions to come to fruition. And of course, you need to have a capability of leading or federating people with you when you develop all this technology and all these new solutions. So that's roughly what the digital transformation brings in a company.
Yeah. So what does that mean when it comes to leadership and HR departments? How can they use this digital transformation?
I believe that what is often lacking is an understanding of what is known. So what do people know about technology? So are they on the web? Are they doing social media? Are they blogging? And then it's also about what they are doing with it. So are you able to exploit your knowledge to a certain extent? Can you work with others through collaborative tools? Are you blogging? Are you being followed by other people in the social media, for instance, in projects where you work virtually with others and so on? So are you able to do things in that area? And then knowing, doing, the third level, I would call that, in fact, transforming. So are you able to transform from the inside? Are you able to think in a new way? That would be then the where you should arrive at the end if you do the whole digital transformation. And therefore, in companies, what can be useful is just to measure where are we as a company, first of all, in that maturity level, and where are the people that are key in the company compared to that maturity. Are they there already? Do we need to skill them up? Do we need to buy people or knowledge from the outside? And do we need to perhaps put the accent on some areas where we are really critically low or critically exposed compared to competition in terms of digital transformation?
So why is it important for leaders themselves to embrace this digital transformation? And why don't they just delegate it, bring in some young people and get them to do it? Why is it important for them to be involved themselves?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And you have, in fact, two things there, Jack. You have first what we call the reverse mentoring. So you have young people that are normally more digital, mentoring older people that are digital immigrants. Yes, you have the digital natives and the digital immigrants. So I'm a digital immigrant. I learn from younger people and from curiosity, and just being open-minded and searching for news. But it doesn't go automatically. So it's good to have that reverse mentoring, but that's not enough. I believe it's also important for leaders to go and search themselves to find out what it is. It's like, when you build a house, you don't want the electrical guy or the plumber to build the whole house for you, okay? You want to have an architect doing this, and you want to have specialists. What's happening in leadership is that you have geeks in Silicon Valley and elsewhere that come and propose complete solutions in areas that they don't know enough about, like marketing, supply chain, human resources, of course. Without the owners of those areas, the marketing guru, the supply chain director, the HR director, contributing enough. So what I'm suggesting is that let's say the HR leader should take control of the content and then use digital as a channel for that. So that in fact the architecture and the solution become something which has a soul. So it's digital with a human soul. And therefore, it will be applied much more easily by staff, by people that will follow, human nature. So that would be my advice in that case.
I guess it's probably a lot harder for older companies, but how do you kind of transform a company from analog to digital? We've seen it going on all around the world, but in terms of TV and such things like that. But in terms of leadership and HR, where do you start that transition and how do you do it?
Yeah, there are different levels. You're quite right. You have companies that are very early adopters, like in media. You have to, because it's the number one in terms of exposure between media, broadcasting, IT, cable companies, social media companies that pretend not to be media companies, but they really are. And all this, in fact, is happening. It's a cross-contamination of business models, and they are stealing, borrowing, collaborating, competing all the time from each other, and therefore, or with each other, and therefore, of course, that's very confusing. Now, if you are a more traditional company, like, let's say, a bank, then what you would normally be advised to do is to look at what is digital, where does it apply first to our business, and then to measure your staff compared to that, and especially this critical staff we talked about before, and then to equip yourself. And if you don't have a plan, you're going to be eaten by competition. Typically in a bank, you would see artificial intelligence as a solution for many customer relations, call centers in different companies, you know. The robots can do all this at 90%, 95% of what we can do now, and the remaining 10% can be done by humans who have that additional problem-solving skill, that additional knowledge that you cannot program or cannot learn by machine learning or advanced machine learning. And these are things where it's rather quick, and there are banks that are quick on this. Same goes for watchmakers. How digital are you? How far do you go into the, the automated watch or the digital watches? Yeah. So every business is different, but the point is you need to have a plan. You need to get advice. You need to have a plan, and you should selectively introduce it. You cannot do it in one blow. That would be very, very tough for any traditional business.
Well, Frode, thank you so much for coming in and speaking to us. It's been
Thank you, Jack. It was a pleasure for me too.
And thank you for watching. And if you like this interview and would like to find out more, be sure to head over to dukascopy.tv.